In this section, I want to discuss with you the migration from VBScript to C# and show you a bit of a demonstration on some of the tools that can be used to automatically convert the VBScript to C#. But prior to that, I've knocked up a few slides with some points on which might help you discuss the migration on your own installation and indeed maybe convince people who are reluctant to move from VBScript to C#. First thing though that I often get is, well, why should I migrate? And you can see a few points there with some very valid reasons. Most of you will be very proficient in VBScript. There are inevitably going to be lots of small customizations and logic changes within the Syspro environment. Some of you may well have inherited a stack of customizations from a predecessor, and there's no documentation and you're not quite sure what they do. And the bottom line, and it's always falls into this, is if it isn't broken, why try to fix it? And they're all very reasonable reasons. But the key factor that overrides all that is the issue of your own business. You need to avoid accumulating a large technical debt. And the reason for that is twofold. First of all, you may well end up in a position where all of a sudden things don't work anymore, and that puts your business at risk. Or more likely, the debt accumulates so much that it costs a fortune to actually employ people to come and change things and replace bits and pieces. The deprecation and the subsequent dropping of VBScript by Microsoft falls into this category. And if you look at that hyperlink there, you'll see an explanation of when things are going to happen and why. So what's the next step? We need to start planning a move from VBScript to C#. It's important to start planning as early as you possibly can so that it's in a nice controlled environment. And if you do hit any issues, then you've got plenty of time to handle them and come up with an alternative plan. And certainly in my experience, when you start to review prior customizations, then you do get an opportunity of asking yourself the question, do I still need them? And if you don't need them, then delete them, get rid of them, and simplify your implementation and so on. And if you do need them, maybe the business rules have changed and there's a perfect opportunity to refine these as well. So that's what some of the reasons for migration. So how do we proceed from here? First thing is that Syspro have provided a mechanism for you to be able to run the new technology, C# and the old one, VBScript, at the same time. So there is no great drop off and a big bang approach. You can plan the migration easily and in a sensible work unit, and also you can give plenty of time for your IT people to learn the new C# techniques without any time constraints. Syspro also provide users with the ability to run test installations of Syspro software and give you the ability to copy your live data. So it means you can create multiple test systems to learn on. There's an extensive user documentation, video training, and code samples to help you learn on these things. And there is also a mechanism within the script code editor to convert VBScript to C#, your existing VBScript to C#, using the Syspro AI capabilities. So with those tools at our disposal, how can we create a project? Well, first things first is you need to set out and identify all the areas of the customizations on the system. Once you've got that, and this could well be applications, it might be builder applications, it's more likely to be VBScript behind panes in standard programs, or you may have added custom panes onto standard programs. So it could be quite pervasive on some systems. These customizations need to be documented and put into some form of list so that you can create a project plan for conversion. I would personally prioritize them then either by a module or by a user or a role or something like that, probably easier by a module. so that you can tackle, say, the sales order processing or accounts receivable module by module. Build a test system and copy the live data to it so that you test on the real live situations. And indeed, you could probably do some parallel testing and sort of say that you can see a live transaction going through the live system on the old VB script and put exactly the same transactions through on your test system in the C# and make sure they actually do the same thing. And then what we want to do is implement a step-by-step approach so that we're not going in one big bang. So once you're confident that you've got everything working in a module, then move that code from the test system to the live system and slowly start to move from the VB script to the C#. So the only difficult part in all that list really is identifying the customizations you've got on your system. So let's have a quick look at how you might do that. You can use the customization management program, which is in the administration tab. Here it is. And when you pop on there, it will give you a list and the options to show the customizations by user, by role, or system wide. And that will give you an indication of which programs and which panes in the programs have been modified. In App Designer, if you go into the Open Existing Apps button, which is up the top in App Designer, you'll get a list of all the custom applications that you've actually got. So simply look at that. You could equally look at the base settings App Designer folder and just look at all the files in there. That will give you the definitive list. And you can also check App Builder if you use it and see which ones of those applications that may well have been done. And this is a good start. And I would personally create an Excel spreadsheet and get a list of all the applications. So let's enough of that. Let's get on with a bit of a demonstration. What I'm going to go through next is show you some of the VB script conversions via the Syspro AI tool. And as part and parcel of that, I'll also show you that you can use things like Microsoft Copilot as well, should you want to. Before I go scooting off looking at my demo code and converting it to C# for you, just one little point that I wanted to raise with you. These AI tools, well, such as Microsoft Copilot and others, that will do the conversion from VB script to C# or generate C# code are fantastic. But they are tools in an array of other tools like compilers and all the other bits and pieces, and should be used as such. If you find that you're generating code through these AI tools that you don't understand, you should stop and try to understand what it's actually creating. Because if you bat on and just let it take over, you will create a holy mess. So just beware of your reliance on these tools and make sure that you actually understand what you are creating before you go too far into it. Enough of my preaching. On we go to our little bit of a demo. Okay, so what we're looking at here now is a rewrite of our C# sample, but I've rewritten it in VB script. So let's go and have a quick look at the code. You should be more than familiar with this. So there's our normal option explicit. Here's our on initialization, our on user event, a little bit of a select case statement, and our person class at the bottom. The structure is identical to the C# code we've been experimenting with to date. So the first thing that we want to do is to go to code generation here, code assistant. And what the code assistant needs is another instance of Syspro so that it can run in parallel with our app designer. So we will just launch the new instance. Okay, so here we are in the code assistant, and you'll see that it's copied the VB script to the VB script tab in the assistant. Now, what we're going to be doing is pressing this convert button in a short while, but I just wanted to explain what's going to happen. When we press that button, the VB script will be packaged up along with a set of very specific rules that Syspro is passing through to the AI agent that basically will instruct it to say, when you are converting the VB script to C#, be aware that these are some of the Syspro type rules. For instance, if you bump into something called call Syspro function, then don't convert the first variable because it's something that Syspro understands, and so on. And there are a variety of rules about what happens if you run into a toolbar event, or the variable called event ID, and so on like that. So what we're going to be doing now is pressing that convert and see what happens. So I press the convert button, and Syspro packaged up the VB script, sent its rules alongside it, and some minutes later I got this code back. Now, that's the first thing to just warn you about, is that dependent on the length of your VB script and its complexity, you may well have to wait many minutes whilst it's actually trying to work out what to do and how to convert it. But be patient, because it will come back to you with some C# code. You can start to see some of the rules now. It's a set of using statements, which obviously Syspro needs. Constants here have been restructured. Our on initialize event here is almost identical. Again, our dim statements have been redefined as strings. Here's our if statement, restructured again with brackets around it. Select case is now a switch statement. All of these we've seen to date. So it's done a pretty good job, and then our class is at the bottom. Now, I expect that what we will do in a minute is we will copy this code and put it into our app and compile it, and it will probably work because it is actually very, very simple. However, in my testing, what I've found is that some of these AI agents will do a pretty good job and maybe gets 80, 85, 90% correct, but would do make mistakes. They do make syntax errors. So you may well have some work to do once you actually pop it into App Designer and recompile. So that's what we're going to be doing next. So first of all, let's just select all the code. So it's Control A here. If you want to, you might want to use the save button and save it to a file, just in case the next step you forget the cut and paste or copy and paste. But what we'll do is we'll copy it, and then we will close this down. Now we're back into App Designer. We need to change the language now from VB script to C#. It will default to the pane that we've been working with up to date, and obviously the VB script code is still there, but you can't edit it now because it's changing language. And up until this point, you can still back out of the conversion. So what we will do is we will delete that, and we will paste back our code into here. And then if we go to syntax check and just simply do a syntax check. Now what it's doing is a pre-compile just to check everything's all right. We have no errors or warnings, so this is looking pretty good. And as I say, up until we're about to press the save button, anything we've done in this VB script application can be undone. As soon as we press save with that C# language one, it will convert this app to a C# app, and you will not be able to go back to your VB script. So just be aware of that. So we're just going to save this, and then we will run our code. And here's our little app. And if we say run code, up comes a message box. Well, in fact, it's now a Syspro message box, if you remember, with our messages in it. And if we use the person class, same sort of thing. So that's taking our VB script app, converting it into C#. And in this instance, we didn't have to do actually anything at all to change any of the code. It just simply worked. So that wraps up the conversion of VB script to C# code using the Syspro AI agent. Just a couple of things to just remind yourself about. It is a tool. Sometimes it will convert 100% of the code correctly, as it did in our example. More often than not, though, you will find you'll have to tinker with some of the generated C# code For instance, occasionally you get a syntax error. More often than not, though, you may want to restructure the logic that it generates, having looked at your VB script code and so on like that. But it's a matter of just getting used to it. But bear in mind, it is just a tool, and it is one of the steps that you're going to have to do. Okay, that's that, and we'll move on to the next section. I thought it might be quite fun to see what would happen if you used an AI engine to see if we can generate C# code. Now, there are loads and loads of these kind of large language models. Some of them are specialists for writing code, but I just thought, well, what would happen if we just use Copilot, which is just comes with Microsoft Windows, and see what would happen. So let's ask it something. What we want to do, we want to write a C# class, called person with, two properties, first name and last name, and a method called say hello, which returns a string hello, first name, last name. Does that make sense? That's not right there. So we'll just returns C#, first name, last name. Let's just see what actually happens. There we go. Quite amazing, really, because that's almost identical to the one that we wrote, and they're giving you an example. Now, and it's also giving me ideas. Would I like to extend the class? So we could say add age. And you can see it changing the code and things like that. Now, you can experiment to your heart's content with this sort of thing. I find it quite interesting and quite a good way of learning some parts of C#, because if you're able to read this and understand it, then you're getting a good handle on the language. I mean, another one might be, say, create a C# class to output a message to the Windows 11 event log. Oops. And here you've got something very similar, but interestingly, you can see it creating and using classes of its own in the event log, and it's using different namespaces to do that. So it's quite a good way of learning the language, as I said before, but also all you've got to do now is copy and paste it, go copy, paste it into your code or your class, and away you go. Now, just one word of caution. It's very, very easy to generate huge amounts of C# code. If you find yourself generating code and not understanding it, you should stop. Is by all means generate code, but make sure that you do understand, because you may want to edit this, but use these AI engines as a tool to help you rather than actually doing the job. This stuff will not replace your knowledge of Syspro and so on like that. So there's just a little bit of a fun thing to start you on that route. So next step is to move on and discuss the documentation that is around App Designer and C# coding in particular.